everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research, welcoming my fabulous co-host, Liz Miller. Hey Liz, how you doing?
What's happening? I'm good, Holger. I'm
Welcome
good. I'm on the road.
Special episode.
Wow. Special episode. Wait, special episode. Why? Because someone was silly enough to allow Constellation Research to film CRTV episodes. How many times, Holger?
We are 15 years past retirement age for those who can do the math.
80 episodes for those of us who don't work in Holger's weird retirement system. We are at episode 80, folks, and we're thrilled to be here. I mean, we've tried to tell you the news. We've tried to show you the trends. Most often, we just show you that Holger and I are not the serious news people that Doug and Diane are. So we're just going to keep going with it, and we're going to roll with another episode. Hey, Holger, why don't we jump right into the news?
The news,
What's going on in your world?
This is futile. We cannot compete with Larry. I mean, who writes about 3, 4, 5 news events every day. We can barely capture one or two, at least my brain does, right? So up on my list is, I'm going to talk, there's going to be a separate video, check it out, my State of Oracle. I've been to 3 Oracle Analyst Summit days, so I have to bottle it all up in a video. But the other database company, which is really the leader in the space, is MongoDB, who had their local event in New York City the other week, and MongoDB clearly is on a roll. There's no question about that. If you do unstructured content and you want to put it in the cloud, you want to have it across the clouds, they're the clear market leader for that kind of content, for that kind of applications. So they're clearly on a roll. The problem, in my view, is they're not making enough money with that yet. And there might be a similar thing, which you can also talk about what happened, that HashiCorp got sold itself, or IBM bought HashiCorp, right? And HashiCorp and MongoDB were always my examples that if you do cross-cloud right in a SaaS service, you're going to do really, really well, which both of them did, right? So they're all running on AWS, obviously, where they started typically. They're running on Azure, they're running on Google Cloud, and potentially more, and they manage that for companies. And that's very, very helpful, because companies live in the multi-cloud and have to operate in multi-cloud, and if it's taken care of by the vendor, I have less things to worry. I remember the old times where it was, we give you the code and you can put it in another cloud. And then you have to maintain it. And maintenance is expensive, difficult, and risky, right? But the issue that both of them have, they come from the open source space, and the original business model of open source was to sell services. And so they're not really getting the market share they should have, right? They're proudly at their investors day showing, they're getting about 1.5% of the database share. That is not enough if you're a market leader in a category, right? There must be in the high single digit, if not in the low double digit. But to get rid of these roots, and HashiCorp is the example for that, right? HashiCorp started charging. HashiCorp is a $500 million company, but from their value, that should be a $2-3 billion company, which means probably IBM couldn't have afforded to buy them. So what I'm saying is, it's very hard for MongoDB as an independent company to get rid of the free open source part, which people think there's still a free developer community edition where they don't charge for it. This money they leave aside to any other startup who starts as a SaaS company, and of course to our friends at Big O, Oracle in the sense, who've been charging all their life and said, well, this is open source thing. We use it in our platforms, we use it for free, it's great, right? Everything runs on open source, but we're not going to let our licensing and our revenue be affected by that.
But who would have thought, like a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe you just say 2 years ago, right? That you and I would be sitting here, on episode 80, but also talking about 2 names that people had started to kind of give up on as far as innovators or being able to lead in any real business transformation sense, really being Oracle and IBM. Right? The most we talked about Oracle 3 years ago, the most we talked about IBM 3 years ago was what they needed to sell off, what wasn't working, or quite frankly, what they needed to do to catch up. And now, I gotta be honest with you, the moves that have happened in the last 2 weeks from IBM, especially out of the IBM services group with a lot of their partnerships, I mean, they're really interesting, Holger. And when you then look at their revenues and realize that, for IBM Services is quickly becoming kind of one very solid leg of that 3-legged stool. So when you look at what IBM Services has now done, they've now entered into the agreement with SAP to really follow through on a lot of the promises that SAP is trying to do with its Rise and its Grow programs, right? IBM Services is coming in, doubling down, going to customers who really haven't been able to do it on their own or have found that transition, one that they felt was going to be easy or simplistic, and it was neither of those things. IBM Services now has a locked and loaded, ready to roll service offering that's going to get folks up and running on these new cloud infrastructures at SAP. You've got IBM services doubling down at places like Adobe. They're seeing it in their revenues. All of a sudden, IBM becomes three really interesting letters again.
That's right. So congratulations to both IBM and Oracle to be the only, as AWS calls them, old guard vendors, right? Who were billion companies in the 90s and are still relevant today. I'm not such a big fan of the HashiCorp acquisition because HashiCorp is a great asset, but we know the area where AI from the current stand is doing fabulous job is on the whole CI, CD, DevOps, IT ops space. So how long I can do that services business that you're referring to in that space, even if I have HashiCorp, I'm not sure. If they're using this to become the software company, right? Because I think Arvind Krishna deep down is a product developer. And the evolution from IBM to long term, from hardware to services to software is still ongoing, right? And wish them to have more software assets, basically, to be the IBM that we used to know.
You know, the other company we can't seem to get away from or around, it is now become, honestly, I can't think of a meeting that I've had in like recent weeks where people haven't all asked the one question of, okay, what do we do about ServiceNow? Yeah. Right? When it comes to vendors in this space, right? ServiceNow has very, very definitively stood by its statement of being the platform of platforms, because if platforms are about workflows, and they are going to be the platform of platforms, right? They're going to be that central location, either from where all workflows initiates or where they flow through. And, you know, they have a juggernaut when it comes to anything that involves service, whether you're talking about enterprise service management, whether you're talking about field service management, whether you're talking about ITSM, like whatever you're talking about in the delivery of some type of service to another party. I mean, they are killing it. Like there's no doubt, but they had their big event. Holger, you were there, right? You were on the
I couldn't.
You were. Did we both watched it?
We both did not go to No 24. We still know what happened.
I love it.
And the really interesting thing to me is you're absolutely right. ServiceNow, the Switzerland, we're connecting the dots. I've been asking Bill so many times, when can you do this without having a destination, right? And I think that's crackling in my space, in the HCM side. They bought a talent acquisition company, which is a destination, right? I still have to write a blog post about like how the airlines, like before my time, before I was flying, were buying hotels because they were flying people to somewhere where something is, like static applications. I think that's happening, that ServiceNow has done everything they can do, Switzerland lines, to move stuff between the silos, and they need places. They did acquisitions before, they're an acquisition machine. Like they bought things on occupational safety, but okay, who cares about occupational safety, right? I mean, there's maybe an SAP special app and so on who's this old. Not many vendors have that, right? Nobody's crying wolf. Now having a talent management application, that's a substantial chunk of HCM. That will wake up the talent management for sure, but the HR vendors as well. And it might not be as friendly and as easy for ServiceNow to sled there. And I think when you start doing this, I think you have to stay on that course. So I think we'll see in the next 2020s, next 2-3 years, a veritable battle between ServiceNow doing well, getting destinations, maybe changing the architecture as well. We added them to the EAP list, EAP vendor with no ERP. Remember, originally we did enterprise applications platform was a PaaS.
That's right.
EAP vendor.
Yep.
And now we said there's EAP platforms where you can do everything, build, integrate, extend without having an enterprise application. And now we see with ServiceNow.
I will say I'm gonna stand up. I'm going to stand up for ServiceNow just a little bit on the, on some of the applications, because from an HR perspective and from that kind of talent perspective, they didn't make sense. But when you looked at it from like a field service management perspective and from a dispatch perspective, as we were weaving in all of those workflows, having that data and having that regulatory data, having that, injury data, having all the compensation data really woven into the workflows has really made a difference. And I think where they are moving now is really about getting very smart about the data that is underpinning a lot of these automations, very specifically to have work smoother, right? It's not so much it's not focused on the workflow, interestingly enough, right? What I see and what I heard out of Knowledge, what I heard out of a lot of the announcements over the last couple of weeks is it's really about the data that's now accelerating those models across all of their workflows, because yes, they have all of these. They've got the mobile, they've got the desktop, like they've got all the platforms now. They've got all the substrates through which we can do all this work. Now they needed the data to actually amplify the work so that the work was differentiated. And I think they're starting to do that. So I think that's what we're going to start seeing over the next several years. Okay, I'm going to ask you one question before we got to get out of here. We've had a lot of events. It is event silly season right now, where we are like on the road constantly. As we can see, I'm in a hotel. But if you were to pick one vendor right now that you're like, okay, I'm going to put them on a little bit of a watch list. This is the one to watch over the next couple of quarters. Who is it? Who are you? Who would you tell people to keep an eye on?
A single one. That's an interesting question, right?
Yeah, just one. Just one.
Just one. No. I need two.
Oh, fine. You can have two.
They both start with S, so they don't really count, right? So we talked about ServiceNow, right? Is ServiceNow going to add more destinations? It's going to be super interesting strategic thing for how the whole competitive landscape, partnerships, what CIOs need to do, how to run the enterprise, and so on is going to be one to watch. Was this just a mistake? Oh, we just did this for HR. Our customers wanted it, blah, 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 and so on, right? Do they retreat from it from that perspective, or are they going the other way? The other one to watch, obviously, looking ahead, is SAP. Right, SAP customers are running into a 2027 upgrade deadline, end of commission.
Yeah.
This Sapphire is going to be really, really huge. Their large customers need at least 5 years. They're in that window already. So if they're going to have a great Sapphire from what they announced, a roadmap, what's going to come when, me as an SAP CIO can align my upgrade, my roadmap to what SAP is telling me. I trust them that they're going to do that. That's going to be the big thing to it, because it's going to move so many services dollars. We talked IBM, so many partner dollars, that there's going to be dynamic again in the SAP ecosystem. Flip side, if they don't do that, right, they've been rising, whatever, accelerating,
growing.
Whatever. Yeah. The easy ones, they've been skimming off. Everybody does that when they have an upgrade program. Then there's harder ones left, and they're going to run the harder ones. The whole dynamic around upgrading to S/4HANA might come to a screeching halt if they don't have a big Sapphire. So the SAP ecosystem
that's a really good point.
Incredible, giving hope, making people move, Sapphire or not. Sorry, long answer. But it's only once.
No,
everything is.
Listen, I gotta agree. I would, if I got to pick two, I would put SAP as my second as well, because I think that they are in a position where they have to make some pretty big changes, and their customers want to see it. It's interesting because unlike other large vendors where their customers have this like love-hate relationship with them, right? And their customers kind of want to see the vendor fail. SAP's customers don't feel that way. They don't want SAP to fail. They need SAP to succeed. Their businesses hinge on it, right? And so I think that there's a lot riding on this Sapphire, which kind of makes it exciting coming up. And so it's going to be interesting to see what that reaction is. So I would definitely say that SAP is one to watch. The one that I am really interested and curious in watching, I mean, AWS naturally, like
that's not AWS. Fine.
But no, the one I really want to watch is Atlassian.
Well, there's an S in there too. Fine.
I'm fascinated by their acquisitions over the past several years, right? Where it's a lot of AI, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of very specific work that was coming out of things like Jira, but then also things like Loom. So how does all of that come together? Or are you just going to be a suite of things that people might want to use? So I'm kind of keeping my eye on them to figure out, okay, like they're just at this last conference, they're just starting to pull those pieces together and weave and braid some of these pieces in kind of critical areas, but they got a lot more to do. And so I'm kind of interested to see where this ship lands. So I got my eye on them. I'm going to watch that. But
I totally agree with you on both, on Atlassian as well. Atlassian is kind of like in that situation in which ServiceNow doesn't want to come. They're the Switzerland.
Right.
They built the destinations. They had to have the destinations, right? Like ServiceNow has for IT service management, no question.
Yeah.
Right? Destination, no question. But the beyond, and now it's neither fish nor flash, right? So whatever. Whatever the right saying there is, please correct my idioms. But that's the problem that ServiceNow wants to avoid, or do it better and right. I think there's lots of things to learn from where Atlassian is right now, but definitely interesting.
Well, listen, in regard to things we're going to learn, we're going to hear more from you in regard to Oracle. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing here in London. Give you a little sneak peek about what's happening there.
It's Team of the Queen.
Otherwise,
right?
listen. On behalf
Team of the King. Sorry, not the Queen. No, wait. The King has cancer. So who's in charge? Team of the
Oh
Prince.
my gosh, it's me. I'm always in charge. I thought we already agreed on this. Listen, everyone. On behalf of everyone, you stop. And on behalf of everyone here at Constellation, hitting episode 80 is kind of a big deal. So we want to thank everyone for sticking with us and letting us come and do this every other week and drop a podcast every other week for you. It's fun to keep on top of all this news and all these crazy things and all of the wacky thoughts that Holger and I tend to have, at least every other episode. So on behalf of all of us, thanks for tuning in. We got a couple videos coming up for you to get you updated, and away we go. I'm here in London. It's been a while. Hey, everyone. Figured I would just send a couple notes from the road, let you all know what I'm up to, let you know what I'm seeing. What is happening this week? There are two events happening literally on the same days, both named Engage, both all using capital letters. It's like not just Engage, it's like screaming Engage, like Engage. Two different cities, two completely different subjects, and I had to choose which one I was going to go and participate in. And London and Smartsheet won out. So sorry to my friends at Avaya and everyone who's having a blast. In Denver at AvayaENGAGE, I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there with you guys. I know some cool stuff is happening, so let's touch on that really quick. Some big announcements. I mean, the Ring Central announcement that came out yesterday, I believe it was, in regard to a deep and strategic partnership that are between the two organizations. This was really bringing that UCaaS, that Unified Communications, as a service solution. And a lot of the, not only the video and the messaging, but a lot of the AI solutions that Ring Central has been working hard on, that is really available now to both cloud customers of Avaya, but also Aura customers, the on-prem solution. For me, this is more about, it's kind of two things. It's about Ring Central really being cognizant of the deep partnerships that it can create and really extend their UCaaS solutions and a lot of those collaboration and the video and the messaging solutions. So well done. I think some kudos need to be extended out to the team at Ring Central for really being able to follow through on a lot of these partnerships. But I've also got to give some kudos to Avaya, because there's this really keen understanding, and you've heard me talk about it before. You've heard Avaya's CEO talk about it before. Alan Masrick is really happy to tell anyone that Avaya is really all about how, as an organization, can they bring innovations without disruption, right? Without that need to rip and replace, without that need to shut off all your systems, without that need to potentially put your business that's running on a mission critical solution at risk to change that platform. And a lot of customers are quite hesitant to do that. This strategic partnership kind of doubles down on that belief that innovation should not only be available to everyone, regardless of where they are hosting, where their stuff is, but that it can be done through really smart, really intentional partnerships. So yes, this Ring Central partnership is certainly part of that, but I'm going to be honest with you. Almost every major announcement that's happening at Engage is really about, hey, we made the investment into this being a really open platform that can sit at the center of this kind of customer communications hub that we want to be. And anyone can come in and partner on top of this and deliver a lot of different solutions. So you're seeing partnerships from LivePerson, you're seeing partnerships from Verint, you're seeing more, bring your own bot, announcements coming out of AvayaENGAGE. And I think it's really important to note that this isn't just about extending capabilities. It's really about following through on that promise, that it's going to be about innovation without disruption. I think that, over the next 6 to 12 months, however, from Avaya, we're certainly going to start seeing how some of these acquisitions, how some of these partnerships, how do they really start to help evolve the platform? What are we learning from those hybrid customers that we're now really changing and infusing in a lot of the cloud customers? Right? Because at some point, those hybrid customers are going to want to be enticed onto the cloud. right? That's just kind of the pattern that we're seeing. So what is it that we're learning, both from the successes of the hybrid implementations of what these customers truly want? What is it that they want to actually do with AI? What do they want to do with all of the asynchronous and synchronous messaging capabilities? And then how is that then being reflected across the cloud solution? And if I'm really thinking about it, that's where the two Engage conferences intersect, right? So I'm here in London with Smartsheet and their CEO, Mark Mader, spoke this morning. And the thing that I appreciate the most about his keynote was that it was really more about how do we get things done in a time, and he actually referred to it as a kind of that age of convergence, where everything is coming together, where all these systems, all these processes, all of these operations, all this data, everything kind of seems to be crashing into one central point. But how do we make sense of it all? How do we make sure that we have the processes and the visibility and the capabilities in place to be able to deal with it all? And I think that's very much in line with what even Alan Masrick is saying in his keynote at Engage. So I think the two CEOs probably could, maybe, who knows, maybe we converge the two conferences. Just like the first 3 days are Smartsheet and the second 3 days are Avaya. Now I'm just really creating problems. Now I'm just messing everybody up. It's all capitalized, Engaged, it's fun. But I do think that this central message of we need to really be able to look at not only what services and what capabilities we're empowering and enabling, but what are we asking our people to do with all of this? And I think that becomes the big difference, both at Avaya, but especially at Smartsheet, right? Time and time again, you hear customers saying, I need my people to be able to use it. I need the UI, I need the UX to be so intuitive that people are going to want to not just run projects on Smartsheet, they're going to think of new things they need, new dashboards they need, new questions that they need answered. And it's about being able to have the trust in not just the data, not just the process, not just the workflow, not just the automation, but being able to trust Smartsheet that they're going to come up with that answer. You're going to be able to look at that data. You're going to be able to pull it in that one space. You're going to be able to look at your assets differently through your brand folder implementation. You're going to be able to connect those dots as a marketer, not just from creative or work management from the terms of being a marketer or moving these campaigns out the door, but how are we also doing that with assets and content, and how do we then apply a dollar figure to it? How are we looking at the impact of it? So I think that when we start to talk about things like AI, the approach that I'm hearing here at Smartsheet is really far more about being able to find those points of application that really make a difference. And not necessarily a huge transformational, it's the biggest question ever. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. It's about being able to take those little things and get them off of people's plates. It's about being able to ask, hey, how do I get to that number? And where did you get those numbers? Verify and validate where you got that, how you calculated that, how you looked at that profit. And I think that is the difference. I think we hear a lot of kind of pie in the sky, big hopeful applications. I mean, yesterday's GPT-4, Omni, 4.0, I don't even know how to say it. But, their new interface and their new model, I can talk to it. It has sentiment, it has feelings back. It feels like I'm talking to a person. That's all great. But really today in the day-to-day and down in the weeds and, where work gets done, the AI that people are looking for it's not that. We're not reveling in the cool. We're actually trying to figure out how to get it done, where we can apply it. How do I get that cell over there? How do I get that formula to work? How do I get a new formula that might even be better? And I think that's really where Smartsheet is doubling down and where they're focusing. So I really like the message that we heard from the keynote this morning. We had an opportunity, us analysts had an opportunity to talk with 4 of their customers. And in every single case, across the board, no matter what those customers were focused on. Some were focused on UX and UI and making sure that those experiences were streamlined and ensuring that those projects and those tickets that needed to be created to actually deliver those types of services across the organization were in a central and visible location, to KPMG looking to ramp up SAP implementations and are using Smartsheet to manage a lot of those processes, to, two huge brands like Bayer and Nestle. And, in the case of Bayer, we got to hear from the crop management solutions. In the case of Nestle, we got to hear from their pet sciences group. But, they're running major capital investment programs and projects. They're running major supply chain projects. They're running this all on Smartsheet because their people want to use it. They're finding that time and time again, they can ask for a different project. They can ask for a different tool, and they're able to build it. They're able to use it. They value it, and they trust the results that are coming back for it. Across the board, this is what everyone was saying. Our people want to use it. Our C-suite said, wow, we got that so fast. Can you build us another one? Now, their customers are also demonstrating and proving in real time and in real life that no good deed goes unpunished. So they are also getting a lot of requests and a backlog for all of their Smartsheet products and all the projects that they want to get pulled onto. But, at the end of the day, what would you rather have? That backlog because everyone trusts and values and uses the tool and solution so much, or folks who just abandon it and don't want to use it anymore? They can't get the answers that they need to run the business that they are running. It's about being able to look at the different ways people work and deliver those tools and solutions that empower them to work even better, to find even better pathways, to take all of the dumb stuff off of their plate that they don't want there. So, special thanks to those Smartsheet customers that were able to sit down with us for a little while and talk. So I do really appreciate that. We're going to wrap it up here because I'm jet lagged. I'm tired. I feel like that's a theme of when I come and talk to y'all, that I'm kind of tired. That's probably a bummer, but that's just life.
Hello everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research, here to talk to you about my recent takeaways from spending 3 days at Oracle, which, if you think about 3 working days in a year, that's 1% or so. Take a European vacation of 65 days. So significant time spent at all layers of the stack with Oracle, on the infrastructure as a service stack with the OCI colleagues, on the PaaS stack with the people on the database side, and then the SaaS stack where I cover the HCM side. So let's start in reverse chronological order. The OCI Analyst Summit was last week in Seattle. Very interesting to see in general the momentum that Oracle has in the space, coming kind of like late to it. They openly call it's OCI 2.0. If you really count of all the attempts and flavors, let's not forget Oracle has been at this since the early, 2000, 2001 back then with Oracle. I believe it was on demand. Very different technology at the time on every layer, both infrastructure and database. You were using multi-tenant database at the time. So very different story. So everybody should be on their version 2.0. If you count all the permutations and tries, maybe it's 3.5. But there's strong momentum for OCI worldwide. It was great to see. Record number of data center locations, and the secret sauce is really behind the scenes. What to talk about is, in my view, it's important to always keep in mind what is the organizational DNA of a software vendor, and that manifests itself in how the offerings are done. Right? And Oracle at its core, yes, there's applications near and dear to my heart as well, but at the core, Oracle's database company needed to find a cloud infrastructure that is ideal to run database workloads in the cloud, because SaaS revenue or online revenue, cloud revenue is key for all the vendors in the space. And it finally figured out the platform with Exadata. I'll talk about this in a moment on the database side. And it figured out with OCI 2.0 to build a cloud which has 3 key design parameters, which is very fast CPUs, very flexible and dynamic networking, which is important to bring the right data to those CPUs, because the dirty secret of all cloud vendors is utilization is what makes the money. So the faster you can get the data to this CPUs, the better. And last but not least, a very flexible way of configuring things, because Oracle, being the transactional data vendor of the world, knows that data residency, data privacy is important. So like a massive data center footprint, like let's mention them for an example, AWS, where its core DNA is an online retailer, The workload for that would never be given, maybe ultimately in large economies, but would never be given. So a large data center pod design, like what you see over at the other people in Seattle and AWS, will never have the same workloads. Look at Microsoft, right, which mainly has some applications and then some PaaS, and especially was living in the early days for moving Office applications. If Microsoft opens an Azure data center, it right away has significant workload, significantly more than Oracle, who has to chop further and further on that. And then fourthly, the big advantage, apart from being a flexible design, which actually Clay McGorrick shared, that the number of instances needed has gone down to single digits. I'm not sure if the number is NDA or not, but it's a very, very small footprint that Oracle needs. And that gave it, together with the TCO DNA of Oracle, which wants to manage all these instances in a very efficient way, that gave it the chance to do Oracle Alloy, where partners are doing this, and dedicated region, which is the other key part. So you can have the full Oracle Cloud running in your own data center, and it's managed not as a second-class citizen or somebody who will get updated when you get to, but it's fully managed like it was an Oracle OCI instance. So these are the three design parts, and this is why these are working so well. Now, enters in the space the whole AI thing that nobody would have thought it would be happening at that impact in 2024 and 2023. And I've never seen, follow Oracle since close to 25 years. I've never seen Oracle so aggressively investing into something like Larry Ellison and Safra Catz have into NVIDIA GPUs. Half of the free cash flow of Oracle, which is around 12-15 billion, got invented at the tune of 6-7 billion into CapEx. Of course, CapEx also applications, but we know that number, even with OCI, was hammering around 1 billion a quarter, something like this. It was up to 6-7 billion a quarter. Look it up on the investors' website. So massive investment in NVIDIA. The supercomputers are there, as Larry shared over a year ago when it was really news. Workloads from Microsoft, for Bing, workloads from NVIDIA for their Omniverse and so on are running on OCI. So if you want to get or need to get hold of NVIDIA chips today, together, of course, with your transactional data, some of the transactional data, and you have to do this in a local country and so on, Oracle is the solution, the cloud you cannot ignore. Right, enough about infrastructure as a service. Let's move one layer up. Let's move to platform as a service, where, of course, I attended the Database Analyst Summit back in Redwood Shores 2 weeks ago. No surprise, right? Everything is going extremely well. Exadata is the design point, is the best way to run the transactional database. Oracle, pretty much from a transaction database perspective, is running in a vacuum because their traditional competitors like IBM and Microsoft SQL Server, we'll talk about that in a moment, are really not doing anything anymore, unfortunately, for customers and analysts. We like competition, but we have to say who is ahead of that. We again had Larry Ellison joining from Nashville, because Oracle just moved their headquarters from Austin again to Nashville. Join us live, which is great. I love that he is so close to the database, shows the priority as well, that he takes questions from the analysts unscripted. That's a great thing. So there's tremendous customer momentum for Exadata. There's no question about this. Check also my blog post coming out soon about the Oracle DB 23 AI release. Oracle always changed the suffix, right? It used to be I, it was C, something else, and now it's, of course, the AI era is AI. What is the thing they're doing there? Of course, they had vector support, as they announced in Cloud World. And it's run really well from that perspective. Makes non-data center queryable, database queryable language available to be queried from the database in the form of vectors. The OCI buildup, of course, and this is where the synergies happen across the stack, is massively helping the Oracle database, because you can pitch now to Oracle database customers to move an Exadata on-premise or in a region which is open there, right? Let's remember, Oracle is overtaking Amazon, long-time leader AWS in terms of regions worldwide. More things are happening there. And then there's a second database, which is HeatWave, which has a phenomenal innovation track record. In 5 years, Nipun Agarwal and his team out-innovated pretty much every new database out there in the market, providing all kinds of capabilities. Of course, now it's all about AI there. Larry, of course, talked about all the things which are happening in healthcare. That's a big, big gamble for Oracle. It also helps, I talk about on the app side in a moment, a lot on the application side. And the interesting thing is that basically Oracle with Autonomous is running in a vacuum, right? They keep talking about multi-cloud, also Clay McGurrick talked about multi-cloud, and of course Juan Loaiza, how you can provision now the Oracle database in the Azure Council, right? It's great for customers, same look and feel. Behind the scenes, from a database competitive perspective, not so great. I was expecting back at Cloud World in September last year that an Oracle announced the capability of having Oracle Exadata being provisioned out of the Azure Council, that the next day there would be a momentum press release that SQL Server keeps building things and so on, so many companies are running those, and there was nothing. Now, if anybody from Microsoft hears this, prove me wrong. Is there a momentum press release for SQL Server? And the message for CXOs and enterprises is clear. If I do this deal, good for customers who are on the Oracle database, not so great for people who are on another database, in Microsoft case, the SQL Server database. Well, we'll see what happens there. Last but not least, again, one level up to the SaaS stack. Listen to Steve Miranda laying out the land. Mike Cecilia talking about the vertical part. I'm really intrigued and need to dig a little deeper. I'm not covering verticals because in the history of enterprise applications, verticals always take a pause when there's significant horizontal innovation. We've seen this with any platform change, and the same thing should be happening with the uptake of AI. And I don't see Mike Cecilia and the vertical team slowing down from a perspective, which is interesting to see. But have to dig a little more down, wonder how they do this. I can see that hypothetically, which helps applications tremendously, right? We see all the vendors who don't have to be multi-cloud and multi-vendor a significant lead and advantage in terms of uptake of AI. Right? For any Oracle application developer, if I want to do something for Gen AI, I'm using OCI, I'm using the AI capabilities there, I'm ultimately building on NVIDIA. It's not like, let's mention it, like SAP, where you have a multi-cloud strategy and you have to be able to use where the customer is. AI services out of AWS, out of Google Cloud, out of Azure. And that means you have to build a wrapper layer. That means everything's being slowed down. It's much, much harder for applications developers to pick up capabilities for their applications when they have to be multi-cloud. So, great progress, interesting. Don't know about the NDA size. They're watching what Oracle is doing on the payroll side. One for a long time, one of my big beefs with Chris Leone and his team. To me, payroll is a significant part. Oracle is about 15, 20 something payrolls right now. They have a new strategy how to address that further. If that will be good enough, we'll see in the market. Good to see also going back, because much content was in NDA, to what was shared already at Cloud World last year. Significant benefit and the stack also for the SaaS application, in this case HCM applications, from Oracle's investment of Cerner in the healthcare space, where scheduling of nurses is a key pivotal capability for hospitals and departments there. And Oracle, for a long time, a partner with Kronos, so now UKG in the space, is now building its own workforce scheduling. And it's very, very complicated. Now, the beauty to me following the industry is it's great when more complete suites are being built. I always give kudos to vendors to build complete suites. In this case, the complexity of the healthcare scheduling is more than the retail scheduling, and the retail scheduling is also becoming available from Oracle at these moments in time as a first version, of course with caution, but it's great to see capability being built so generally that it can be taken over from that perspective. And then, I mean, from adding the capabilities in payroll and in workforce management, it clearly makes what was already the most functional dev suite in HCM on the Oracle side, it makes it even more broader, more able to run things. There's significant customer momentum on the side. So the largest HCM development out team there, which has multiple vendors combined development teams working under Chris Leone. It also doesn't seem like Chris Leone is working also on supply chain management. He got more responsibility. It does not seem to slow down the HCM team. Well, so you have it. So to summarize it all up, Oracle is on a roll. Everything is working really well. I jokingly always say, if I still have to work when I'm as old as Larry Ellison, I want to have as much fun as he seems to be having when you interact with him and ask him questions. So 75-ish plus or something. So everything's falling in place for Oracle. dedicated, fine-tuned for its workloads, both on the applications, which are database side, and on the AI side, infrastructure as a service with OCI. No competition on the database side. And on the application side, the most complete, the most integrated suite in a single system, which is there. And let's use the vertical stuff as a vanilla cream on the top. So Oracle is really executed well on the R&D side. So now it really comes back to marketing, convincing customers, and that's the red light of everything. Interesting, one tidbit of the OCI summit was customer panel was very good. 2 out of the 4 said they came newly to an Oracle Cloud customer and they had to do renewals, and everybody was like, it's going to be a hard, difficult conversation. And they said it was not a hard conversation, which is interesting to see. So slowly but steady, things might be changing at Oracle. I actually think they have changed along, but perception is reality, and Oracle still needs to invest into more to change the perception that we see a newer, more gentle, more customer-friendly, more subscription and service-minded Oracle going forward. Right, this was way too long. This was 14 minutes about Holger Mueller talking about his takeaways from 3 days spent in Oracle Analyst Summits. Thanks for watching. If you see anything that you like, you don't like, please be vocal. Let me know what I missed, especially that one's what I'm interested in. Thanks for watching.
Holger, we did it. We got to the end of episode 80. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. Do we get a super senior discount now?
I think we should get a super senior discount. I want to.
We can come to happy hour 1 hour earlier thing or something like that.
Right. We get to go eat at 4 o'clock now. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Well, that does it for us. In 2 weeks, you're going to be hearing. It's going to be Doug Henson coming at you. Doug, Larry, Diane, the whole crew. They're going to be here talking about the news, talking about what those guys talk about.
Don't miss the series, guys.
Don't miss them. Don't miss them. Don't miss us coming up in a couple more weeks. We have got a lot going on, everyone. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Hi. Just a second. I gotta find the right glasses. I don't like it when the room's all closed off either. Okay.
You're looking good, Riz, for coming out of an intercontinental flight. So
I'm tired. I'm so tired. Here's the good news. I don't have a tapeworm, and we're 90% sure I don't have cancer.
You can't eat red meat anymore, and you used to eat red meat 3 times a week. You're going to lose massive weight.
Oh yeah, that's what happened. And that's what happened. You don't have a tapeworm.
If you want natural prophylaxis because you're worried of cancer, the most potent thing you can do in stuff of traveling is 4-day broccoli sprouts.
Broccoli sprouts or Brussels sprouts?
Broccoli sprouts.
What are broccoli sprouts?
Broccoli sprouts, clean ones. You got 4 of the glasses. You put them in. The 4th-day one, you eat. It's the most potent thing, natural thing against cancer you can do.
Here comes me and the broccoli. By the time I get home, I should have patty pan squash, tomatoes, and zucchini.
This is like, oh yeah, you played high school basketball, whereas you play NBA. You play
this is called I haven't seen my house in 5 days, and I'm going to be really excited to see that I have squash growing in my backyard. That's what that is, Holger.
Okay, that one, the horticulture excitement, I totally give you. Yeah.
Oh, alrighty, Rue. There's nothing. What was last week? What happened last week?
Okay, cool. Well, this is episode 80, so make a big deal about it.
Whoa, episode 80! Ah! Hannah? Oh, God. It's very disconcerting. It really is discombobulating when we end up on the wrong side of the screen. It actively looks strange.
It looks strange, yeah. We're so creatures of habit, yeah.
I know, we really are. And then I'm in a weird place, so I don't know. Should we even do this episode?
Did you get your muscle scraper from the 80th episode? A muscle scraper? It's like a microwave
Why are you scraping your muscles?
Yeah, this is for my 80th episode of CRTV. You didn't get yours? Oh, because you're in London. This is why.
Please don't ever send me a muscle scraper, ever. Ever. I don't want to know what it does. The name is descriptive, and I don't think it actually does what it says it does, but it totally does. Want it.
It totally does. This is the conventional scraper. Can you see it, right? The mechanical one. And the electric one. First of all, this one is really good because it heats up the blade. You can say,
why do you have so many muscle implements in arm's reach to where we film CRTV?
Do you see that I'm scraping my underarm?
I don't want to know what you're doing to your underarm right now. No one of the 10 people who ever watch CRTV, they never want to know what you're doing to your underarm right now. Stop it! Oh my God, we have to talk about the news now. Oh my God, okay, get serious. We're going to start now.
Go ahead.
I wonder if 80 episodes of CRTV makes you not a junior analyst anymore, Liz.
I don't know. I still think I'm the low gal on the totem pole.